Okay. Welcome everybody to support group. This is a very nice group. I'm so happy to see this. And welcome the people in YouTube Live, which we have 0, so I'm not welcome to our class. They'll roll in as we start. So yes, remember that we offer, you can watch these support groups live if you can't make it one day. But I always encourage patients to come to the live one because I can guess it's hard to hear what the patients say. When I ask questions, I think it may be hard for you to hear what they're saying, and I think the best conversations is not what I tell you, is what you guys share with each other, because yes, I'm the dietitian and I know the nutrition piece, but you're the ones that are going through this. So I love when you share your thoughts, your experiences, what you've done, what's worked, what hasn't worked, because each one of you will learn from your experiences. Okay? You don't have to, but raise your hand if you are post-op. Okay. And then the rest we know is pre-op. Okay. All right. So those are my veterans, I call them. So they'll be able to tell you really what it is to live, after bariatric surgery. So, okay. So today's support group topic is going to be stress and emotional eating. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, I already hear some murmurs because we live in a country where 8 people out of 10 are stressed. Okay? So that means that stress is never going to go away, right? It's always going to be there. Every day or every week, for whatever reason, family members, work, whatever it is, stress will be there. So the key is to learn how to cope with stress and what strategies we can work on to not do something when you're stressful that will be detrimental for your own health. Like for a lot of people, they go to food. Okay? I mean, who here experiences stress on a daily basis? Yeah. I'm gonna say like 80% of this room, or 85. Yeah. And actually, there is some scientific explanation between stress and overeating. So when we're feeling stress, it triggers our nervous system to release a type of hormone called epinephrine. And epinephrine is the fancy word for adrenaline, okay? Now, adrenaline actually suppresses our appetite temporarily, okay? Because it's preparing us for the fight or flight mode, okay? But, which is what happens to most people, if you're feeling stress continuously, it's chronic, it's ongoing, it's back to back, then the epinephrine levels reduce, the adrenaline levels reduce, and we start producing more cortisol. And cortisol is a hormone that actually induces appetite. It makes us hungry. So it's not a problem with you. It's not that you're weak, you don't have willpower. It's not on you. We tend to blame everything on ourselves, the decisions that we make and all that. There really is a chemical situation going on in our bodies that lead to these habits. So and actually when you're stressed, the cortisol levels should go down and not feel as hungry anymore. But because most people experience that chronic stress, those cortisol levels remain high, and it just makes you feel hungry all the time. So it's natural. It happens. We live in a very stressful environment, so it's very difficult to stay away from that. Okay? All right. Now, there's stress eating and there's also emotional eating. Is there anyone here that feels that for them is more of an emotional eating rather than stress eating that they experience? Okay. Have you been able to identify or kind of link what kinds of emotions are the ones that lead to wanting to have food? Sad? Okay. Why do you think that happens? Why do you think you go to food when you feel sad? It's comfort, right? And when do you think you started learning that food is comfort when you're sad? She goes like this. So let me tell you what, if anyone here has kids or grandkids, be aware of that. And when you have a child or a grandchild that is sad, don't go like, let's go get ice cream. Because if we say these things, which are just so normal, and let me tell you, even for me as a dietitian, that might just slip away because we're so used to, we were raised that way. It's kind of engraved in our brains. So now if you have kids or grandchildren or whoever young child you care for, if he or she is feeling stressed or emotional or anything like that, try to find an activity to do with the child. Like, oh, today was a bad day, right? Let's go to the park. And if we would have been brought up that way, probably if most people here in America would have been brought up that way, we wouldn't have as many issues with eating when we're stressed or eating when we're emotional. Any other emotions that people feel that you have thought about that link to wanting to eat food? Anger?
I get mad.
Yeah. And I
eat.
yeah. So she said anger. Let me see if there's no one yet. Okay. Some people, boredom. Yes. Yes. Work. Worry, absolutely. And based on the experience that I have, that I spoke with a variety of patients, some rely on food for coping for a lot of emotions, some just for one particular emotion. And let me tell you another one that maybe you haven't thought about, or it's just getting overly excited about something. Whatever it is, even that leads to wanting to go get something nice to eat. And
Celebration.
Yeah, exactly. Or you got good news. You're like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Let's celebrate on. Unfortunately, yes. And who here craves carrots when you're happy or sad?
Dream on. Dream on.
Yeah. That would make sense for us. It would be better if we could just crave, satisfy the emotions with carrots. But actually, there's something else scientifically going on in our bodies. When those cortisol levels are running high all the time because of your chronic stress, you actually crave quick energy. So again, it is not a problem with you. It's not you necessarily. It's a combination of the way that we were raised, and also chemically inside our bodies, or the nervous system triggers us to get quick energy. And nowadays, the quick energy that we have available is unfortunately very unhealthy foods. What are some examples of that quick energy that you feel you tend to crave? What? Potato chips. And what are... Yes, and okay, so you're relatively new to the program, right?
No,
A couple months in? Okay, so you've got some nutrition education.
Oh, yeah.
What are potato chips? What are they made of? Potatoes. Carbs. Fat. Yeah. So potatoes are a starchy vegetable. And starchy is a fancy word for a very concentrated source of sugars that give us quick energy. And then on top of that, they are fried, right? So they're high fat unless you get the baked version, but baked version, yeah. So craving chips, and also a textural component to it. So you like the crunch component to it, but you know, it meets all the it's exactly what your body needs. Quick energy. Those quick carbs that are going to fuel your brain really quickly, and the fat is going to give you a lot of energy.
That's what you do now with cucumbers.
With cucumbers? Okay.
You just go a little soft and they're crunchy.
Yeah.
And the hard and then it's just like spiritual.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Yeah. And that's a strategy.
Yeah.
Some people are able to find, like she did, a substitute for that unhealthy food you tend to crave when you're feeling that way. And that's great. That's awesome. I'm so happy that you were able to find that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, for a lot of people, that may not cut it. You may eat the cucumbers or the carrots or the yogurt with strawberries thinking it's strawberry ice cream, but you find yourself that didn't really satisfy.
That's what I told my husband, and I'm missing the most out of starting this pre-surgery diet plan is the crunch. I'm missing crunchy stuff. And it's hard to find low fat, low calorie, low carb, crunchy stuff.
At least not processed stuff is not easy, no.
No.
You can find that on vegetables, which is ideally what you would want to desire in that moment, but that's not what your nervous system is asking for. So it really is this, you got to see it like this war that you're going through.
Yes.
Right in that moment where you're fighting your kind of physical instincts and your logical thinking, and you're like, I feel like I want this, but I know that I shouldn't eat it, and it's like 20 things going in your head, and people might think what's going on with you because talking to yourself, trying to go through this issue. I tell my patients the first step to not overcome, I don't want to say overcome because you can't expect that you will be able to overcome this issue 100% of the time, because if that's your expectation, guess what? You'll fail. Because we're human and we make mistakes. So don't let anyone tell you that if you don't fix this issue 100% of the time, that you won't be successful. I like to tell my patients, do your best to be 90 to 95% healthy, and then 5 to 10% there is some room for treating certain things, right? There's also the limitations, of course, between the surgeries. Some people may not really be able to treat themselves with some of the sugary stuff that they did before because they're not going to feel well. But I don't like to make my patients feel like they have this expectation of you got to be, perfect 100% of the time. So.
A bariatric doctor told me back in 1997, sugar will let you burn fat. I didn't know that. I stopped using sugar and I lost 48 pounds. No sugar.
Well, and let me tell you, anything in excess can cause weight gain. Anything. Even if it's healthy. That's why the cucumbers, you gotta eat like this much cucumber to gain weight with cucumbers. So that's a great choice to substitute the need of that crunch. That is perfect. But let's say if you're substituting like the example I used earlier, a strawberry ice cream craving with yogurt with strawberries. Yogurt and strawberries is healthy. But if you feel like you're unable to control yourself in that moment, if you consume too much of that food as well, that can lead to weight gain. No matter if it's, so you said sugar, no matter if it's added sugars from sweets or whatever it is, or natural sugars from fruit. So the idea is to learn how to cope with that emotion, that stressful time. If you can cope with it without including any kind of food and finding some kind of activity to replace that, to feed on that emotion, to help you feel less stress or to calm down, that I'm going to tell you is the better choice. Because that really is teaching you how to deal with the root problem, which is the difficulty with coping with stress or different types of emotions. And that's going to be different for everybody. I don't know if anyone here is thinking or has learned with us during this journey, or anything that you've learned in the past that has helped for coping with stress or emotional eating. Anyone? Anything that you have tried, or maybe not even tried, something that you learned from someone but you may not necessarily been able to.
I know that I just face my fear of talking about what's bothering me to somebody.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you hold it in, and it just creates the urge to just want to express in some kind of way, so you eat. But if you just can find just one person to express that to, a lot of times when I'm finished talking to them, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
Or it's like, well, let me just go get a bottle of water instead, because I don't feel that angry anymore. So.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And that's called social support.
Yeah.
And you can get social support even from your dog.
Yeah.
Literally. I mean, not for everyone. Like I said earlier, everyone is different. You have to find what really brings you joy in a moment where your joy is in the floor,
Yeah.
or you're stressed or sad or whatever it is. But that social support, it can be a friend, it can be a family member, it can be a stranger. I feel like sometimes even random people that you start sharing your experiences with, and sometimes you find good listeners around places, and you're like, yeah, this person really listening. Maybe they're not listening, but you at least believe he or she is. And I just feel like that just makes you feel so much better. But that might not work for everyone. So you found something, you've identified what helps, and that's key. So if you haven't identified what it is that can help you overcome these stressful times, emotional times that lead to eating, then really do meditate on it. Think about it.
I just pray.
You pray.
You know, my Heavenly Father helps me out. I can talk to Him anytime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can do that anywhere.
Yeah.
At any moment. Silently. Out loud.
Yeah.
So I think that's
He always listens.
Yeah, and He knows.
Yep.
He knows what you're going through.
Absolutely.
So I think that's social support as well.
Yes.
Divine support. That's excellent. What else? I know. Music. I love that one. I think I love that one because that kind of goes,
Yeah.
that helps me.
Yeah.
Is there a specific kind of music, or is it
All
any
kinds.
kind of music? Huh?
All kinds.
Okay. Good. Yeah. To me personally, is depending on the situation.
Yeah.
If I have stress from work that I feel like I have my mind is crowded with all the things, all my to-do list, I feel like I need more of an instrumental, relaxation kind of music. Yeah. If I'm feeling sad, maybe some Christian music or something upbeat. So I think that's excellent. Anyone here feels that music helps them relieve stress? Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. And nowadays, with all the technology that we have, it's easy to, carry it with you. Awesome. What else? Anyone have any
Walk it.
examples?
Get out and walk.
Walk?
You've gotta eat something, go take a walk, don't take the food with you.
Oh, yeah. And don't go to a place where you're gonna be surrounded with amazing smells.
Exactly.
Yes.
I volunteer at the Denny's clinic, cause I know like just losing my grandmother and my mom within 2 years ago, it's like, it's hard for me in the morning, and it's really hard in the evening, cause that's what most of my time with them.
Right.
So I go to the clinic and I volunteer in the mornings, and I'm there just about all day sometimes. Or if I have any spare time that I know I can just go over there and volunteer, do anything. I'm always trying to do something to help somebody else.
Yeah.
Trying to take my mind off of what I'm going through.
Yeah. That's excellent. That's fantastic.
And it gives you a perspective on what you're going through, because sometimes we think we're going through something so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you gotta do something so much worse.
Yeah,
But it helps you with your perspective of what you're going through.
mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that's fantastic, and I love the idea of walking too.
Someone back there said boredom was and that, I find that if we've had a very busy week and we've done this and done that, and all of a sudden we're finished for the week,
Mhm.
what we had to do, that's when I want to eat. When I sit down and I'm finally relaxed,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanna get those potato chips and crackers and stuff.
Mhm.
And I think that's maybe boredom, I don't know, cause
It
I've
could
been
be.
so busy.
Mm-hmm. It could be also stress,
Mhm.
kind of that chronic stress.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have time that you're away from that kind of work that you're doing, your body's needing some quick energy as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And towards the end, I'm going to show you guys some questions that can help you identify if it's real hunger, if your body is really asking for nutrition that it actually needs, or is it stress or emotional eating. And I think that will help you in those moments. I really like the idea of walking. I think that if you look around, maybe where you live or maybe where you work, or even the places where you go to do errands, you can find a safe place to go for a walk. And you always have your legs with you, so you just head on, and I think that if you're able to walk in a place where it's surrounded with nature, I think it's going to be even better, because if you I like to walk in the mornings, and I decided to go on this road close to where I live early in the morning, and I was walking and I just hear trucks vroom, and cars vroom, and I'm like, I'm trying to enjoy my walk, but the noise from the cars was making it actually a stressful event. So also keep an eye on that. You may not notice, it may not be so obvious as the sound of a huge truck driving by you, but maybe specifically, strategically choosing a place where you know that maybe there's not a lot of people, where there's some trees, you can smell the grass, smell the trees. I heard this morning on the radio, and I've heard of that before, that there is a lot of research behind how when people go to are surrounded by nature, they said at least twice a week, it reduces stress levels a lot. Yes. So find a park, find a place. I think it's a smart thing to do. It's not going to hurt. It's only going to help. Awesome. Those are all great strategies.
My mom would always, because she was a nurse, and she would always go to the park. Like, Mama, I'm at the park.
Yeah.
I'm at the park. But now I find myself always at the park.
Yeah. Was she a nurse, like inpatient or outpatient, or?
She was a surgeon here at Northeast Georgia.
Surgery?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's stressful. Yes. And nurses have big roles, and it can be a very stressful job. So I can understand why. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she didn't think about it that way, but that was her way of coping with stress. At least one of the ways. Anyone have any other ideas or anything else that you've tried?
Yoga.
Yoga?
Yoga.
Yeah. Yeah, and we offer yoga here. I didn't put the flyers out.
Monday.
I forgot, but yes, you can go online to our website and register for yoga, which is, did you know that?
No.
Okay, so yes. Monday, that means it's the second or third Monday of the month, third, thank you. My patient needs to tell me the schedule. I cannot keep these things straight in my head. But yes, we offer yoga, and it's once a month, the third Monday of the month. If you go to our website, nghs.com, you go under services, you go under about, and then classes and events. Yes, and then you can choose the class and register. Yeah, yoga, any kind of exercise for a lot of people helps cope with stress.
Sometimes I color.
Color? Oh, that's a different one. I like that.
Like a coloring book, like an adult coloring book, not a kiddie one, but you know.
Hey, even the kid ones can be fun.
Well, I mean, it depends. Like I like ones that are either like flowers or nautical, because nautical, you know, I kind of like, you know, associate with the beach and relaxing. And then if that doesn't seem to do the trick while I'm coloring, I'll go and I'll do what is it, one of the meditation of the ocean waves and stuff, and I'll just, you know, and I'll just do that.
Yeah, that really helps. And actually, I'm horrible at surprises. Maybe you won't even consider this a surprise, but at the end of the today, I actually put up a video, a 5-minute guided meditation video, because meditation, for the people that practice it consistently, it is so helpful for managing a whole lot of different emotions and stress. The thing is that that's not part of American culture, so we don't understand necessarily the whole point of meditation. You just forever, and you're like, what are they doing? But when I kept reading about it, I found that sometimes the Buddhists, they meditate specifically on, for example, compassion. So they visualize themselves over and over and over again being compassionate with other people. And that just opened I was like blown away when I read that, because to me, meditation was just to relieve stress. That's what I thought. But it also helps with dealing with other maybe behavioral issues, maybe the way that you were raised or the way that you were brought up, not a lot of compassion in the home and a lot of, you know, pointing and whatever. So they figured out a way to visualize themselves, help themselves mentally, so that when that situation comes in person, they've practiced it in their head a 1,000 times. So, and meditation is not something that you'll be able to do it the first time. If this is the first time that you're going to listen to a guided meditation video, you're not going to feel it. You're not going to be able to do it, because this takes practice. It's like dancing or swimming or singing. It doesn't come naturally, because the whole point of the guided meditation is to take your thoughts away from where they are and focus on what the guy is telling you to focus. And that is very hard for most everybody to do. So we'll practice that towards the end. And if you think that maybe that's something that you might want to continue practicing and trying, there's a bunch of apps. You can find it. This video I found on YouTube, so you can go on YouTube, 5-minute guided meditation. Or they also have a lot of instrumental. Who said about the ocean, the sounds of the ocean? You, okay. They have that too. So it's one of those strategies. Another thing that can really help, I tell my patients, is maybe take a warm bath. When was the last time that you did something like that? Although now with kind of the trend is not having, well, yeah, some people have baths. Some people do, some people don't. So if you have a bath and you haven't used it for years, consider that as a strategy to cope with stress. If you like the feeling of warm water and you can add some kind of soap or some kind of aroma to it that helps you relax, you could put some even relaxing music in the background. I mean, just please be safe, don't fall asleep and like that come back to me somehow. You can fall asleep, just make sure that you don't go underwater. But that can help. It's another strategy that I teach patients. Your pets, no matter what kind of pet, bird, dog, cat, there is also research behind the psychological effect that it has for humans petting dogs and playing with animals. It really does help reduce stress levels. So when spend more time with your pet, play more. Your dog is always going to be up for playtime. So don't just do it thinking because it's good for the dog. Know that it's actually really good for your own stress levels. So
I go to sleep with wine.
you what?
I go to sleep with wine.
Okay. And you feel that makes you feel more calm?
Between 8 dogs and 2 cats.
Yeah.
And the birds above my head.
Yeah. Wow, you got a lot of petting to do.
Yes, yes, she
They
does.
get up there and they're done, and I am too.
Yeah. Some people like to read a book.
I think when you get like that and you really want to eat, if you can do something with your hands, you know. I've got the coloring apps, and I've never done that before until recently, but the psychologist said, you know, get something to do with your hands that occupy your mind, and it really does help.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just gonna give examples of painting, you know, going fishing or sewing or knitting, which is all with the hands, but I never thought of that. That's really good. I'm gonna take that information and share it with other patients.
Just don't do anything like Candy Crush, because when you start losing, you're gonna get hungry.
Oh, no.
Well, you said candy, so.
Yeah.
The game, oh my God.
It makes me want candy.
Yeah, see,
And
Something
specifically sour candy. That's my thing, sour. Oh my gosh, why don't they do veggie crush?
But you know what, it's still
Carrot
the same
crush.
concept.
Yeah.
Because if I don't get that level, and I've tried that level 3 times, I'm gonna get so hungry, like, something's gotta make me feel
It's
better.
stress.
So
Yeah,
I think
stress.
that's, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. You guys are such good learners. Yeah. Maybe only do Candy Crush when there's no food available around you and you have a full stomach. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Also for some people making jewelry, it's
Anything you're doing.
yeah, absolutely. Working in the garden or working on a home improvement project. Houses need maintenance. I don't have a house, but I know this because I learned from everyone else. Need maintenance all the time. There's never a moment where your house is just perfect, unless you just went to HGTV and got your home remodeled, but there's always something to do. So if you feel that, you know, I'm stressed or I'm sad or whatever, I'm bored, look at your house. See if there's anything that you can do to work on, whatever it is, cleaning countertops or you know, using the broom, which actually gets some activity in there too. So, which is good. You're using your hands, so I think it's a great thing. Another thing that I've heard of is listening to inspirational podcasts. So having some inspirational podcasts in your cell phone and listening to those. I know people that will listen to the same podcast a gazillion times, you know, over and over and over. There's just so many different types, so I would encourage that you look into that too and see if there's anything you can find, and maybe you're surprised on how that helps you relieve stress. Awesome. Any other examples? Okay, moving on. Now, I'm going to show you certain questions that I was mentioning earlier that you can ask yourself to figure out if you're eating due to stress or emotions, or if it's really hunger that you're experiencing, like real actual hunger that you actually need food, not stress or emotion related. So the first thing that you gotta ask yourself is, did the desire for food come on all of a sudden? Like, I need this.
It has four.
So if your desire of food comes all of a sudden, like for example, you're working and you had a conversation with maybe your boss and it wasn't so great or it was stressful, and you find yourself, you know, stomping out of your office and into the break room and there's donuts and you're like, I'm getting one. But it's like, it really does come in all of a sudden. It wasn't that during the past 2 or 3 hours you were, I think I'm feeling kind of hungry and I think I may want something to eat. No, that just came to your brain right away. So that's a really good question to ask yourself. And actually, I have these handouts. All this information I'm going to give you so that you can have it. I just didn't want to give it to you first before, you know, I didn't want to ruin the surprise. So don't leave without one of those. Okay? So that's one question. Then, is the desire for food urgent? So not only did the desire of the food come out of nowhere, is it urgent? Do you feel like you need it now? I must eat ice cream within the next 5 minutes or you guys are all in trouble. Yeah. Right? I love these questions. Which I put the source because I didn't come up with these. I thought these were great. This was from another dietitian that has a blog. This is the source if you want to look more into some of her blogs. I haven't read through all of her blogs, but the first one I saw, I thought it was great. And it was specifically about stress and emotional eating. And she put down all these questions. I thought they were great. So that's the source. So yes, if you notice that you feel like you need to eat now, then that's a clue. That is emotional eating or stress eating, like that's at its finest, okay? So were you gonna say something? No? Okay, I thought you were gonna say something. So it's good to ask yourself that, okay? It's like a false sense of urgency because it's a reaction to that stressful moment that you just had.
I get up in the morning and the first thing I think of is my Pepsi, which I quit, it's not told me,
Mm-hmm.
and I gotta have a donut,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm grouchy if I don't get my donut,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And believe me, my dogs want me to have my donut.
So
We're
would
talking
that,
about 3-pound dogs. But
I don't know what you guys
I
think.
don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to get away from that urgency I have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I need it.
Yeah.
Or I've made my mind believe I need it.
Right, right. Which is that's the real truth. And that's what I want you to tell yourself always. It's not really that I need it. I want it, but I don't really need it. I know I don't need it. So the first thing is, if you're working with a dietitian, is to make sure that you are nourishing your body properly. So it makes sense that you can wake up with this strong craving of quick energy if you haven't fed yourself well during the day. Maybe you have eaten food, but it could be calorie dense food that doesn't have a lot of minerals, vitamins, all these things that are important for all of our processes in our bodies. That's the first step. And then the second thing I think about is this more of a behavioral kind of thing? Is it that you've been doing it for such a long time that it's habit. It's you train your body to a certain thing. I don't know if maybe when you were brought up as a child, there was something sweet available in the morning usually.
This just started in the last 2 months. 2 months maybe.
Year.
A year.
2 months to a year. Kind of close range there. Well, let me tell you, the first step is you've already done is identifying and tell yourself it's not something that I need. I've been doing it for a long time. My body's now used to it. I don't need it. I want it, but I don't need it. And go to the kitchen and fix yourself a nourishing meal, something which the dietitian works with you and teaches you what that means. But you know, your protein, your healthy source of starch, okay? So
If it's not in the house, you can't eat it unless you get in the car and go get it.
yeah, but sometimes the desire is so strong that people will go
Wear your
through traffic
pajamas.
to get it. Is
I sent her.
oh, you said oh my gosh, that is so funny. So that's kind of like a head battle that I tell my patients, don't ever think that you can't win this battle, because that is not true. At the end of the day, you have what it takes to win that battle, and tell yourself, no, I've made a decision and this is my time to change, and I'm going to change this habit. As hard as it's going to be, I'm going to change this habit. And if in the mornings you feel that way, maybe use one of the tips and strategies that we've discussed, going for a walk right away in the morning, first thing in the morning, to see if you can.
I need to restaurant now.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Right in there in the hallway to your left.
Okay.
Yes,
Sugar
Monica.
and nicotine, sugar and caffeine are really big. It's almost like nicotine. Try
Yeah.
to go off of that, you're gonna get severe headache, you're gonna get sick.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a good amount of research saying that it's addicting,
Yeah,
the
the
sugar.
withdrawal is,
Yeah, you have
but
the
I'm a
problem.
diabetic,
Yeah.
it's very hard.
And yes, there is research behind that, but I don't want you to feel like, oh, sugar's addicting, so I can't get away from it. If you have that mentality, you'll never get away from it. So I think that the way that you talk to yourself and what you tell your brain, and you have to convince yourself that you do have what it takes. And that's the way to overcome these issues. It's challenging, but I know that all of you have what it takes.
I never use sugar. After you told me that, I've never used sugar. I use Splenda and everything.
Mhm.
No more sugar.
Mhm.
You won't let you burn fat, so you just, I don't wanna give it any help.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay. Another question to ask is, am I craving a very specific food? So if you have this sudden hunger, it's urgent and it's very specific, then that's a very good clue to tell you this is either stress or emotional eating. Okay? Because when you're actually hungry, when you've been hungry, that you've been feeling it for the past maybe hour and or two, and you're leading up to it, your body will be satisfied with regular foods. There can be a whole variety of different foods that could satisfy that hunger. But when it's very specific, that can be a sign of stress or emotional eating. So if you identify that, maybe that helps you stop yourself there and say, no, I'm not hungry. This is emotional eating, because I'm craving this, not that. Specifically this, not that or not that. Not the carrots that you have in your refrigerator, not the other healthy snacks that you have set up for success for yourself. It's that other thing that you have to drive 5 minutes down the road to get. So that helps patients, understand. Oh, am I feeling physical signs of hunger? Have you seen this before? No? It's called the Hunger and Fullness Discovery Scale. And it helps patients understand that we do get signals from our bodies, specifically before surgery. Post-surgery, patients no longer feel as hungry, and if you got the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass, you may not even feel hungry. You may have to just eat because you're in a schedule, but you may not feel hungry. So this is something that's very, very helpful, mostly for the sleeve patients and for anyone that's leading up to surgery. Okay,
That's awesome.
so this green area is where you wanna be. So when you just ate food, you wanna feel either very satisfied or just satisfied. You don't wanna eat to the point where you feel full, which is what we're used to doing because we're taught, okay, eat until you're full, or forcing food down your throat, whatever it was that you went through as a child. The best thing is to eat until just satisfied, which is a gentle pressure that you feel in your stomach, okay? And then after you've ate, you feel neutral, and then you start feeling hunger. Most people don't notice this one. Completely override. Why? Because we're not trained to listen and to be mindful of how your stomach is feeling. But the more mindful you are, the better you're gonna get at identifying these cues, and that way you can eat before you get empty, sick, or ravenous animal type of hungry. That's literally how we get, right? And when, okay, so then you feel quite hungry, and that is when you wanna eat, when you're quite hungry. You don't wanna wait until you're very hungry, okay? Because if you wait until you're very hungry, that might lead to overeating, okay? Because you just feel like you almost lose control, and you start chewing less, you start eating faster, because your body just wants that food to go straight to the stomach right away. You know, and after surgery, that's not good because you're gonna feel sick if you eat a lot of food at the same time, okay? So the question is, am I feeling the cues of physical hunger? And these are the cues. Maybe I should have printed that for you guys. You can take a picture of it.
It's actually in the packet.
It's in the packet for the NGPG patients. It's in their packet. That's where I got this from. I thought it was great. So, okay.
On the food diary, it asks you to put your hunger level and then your mood.
Yeah.
I don't never know what to put for my mood because I've always got a blah.
Then just write blah. And it might be difficult to know how to describe that. So what I would do if I were you, I would go to Google.
I've been writing neutral.
Gotcha. I would go to Google and see if you can find a list of mood,
I mean, I'm neither here nor
feelings,
there.
emotions.
I don't,
Because sometimes we are feeling a certain way, we just can't describe it. So a nice list like that, having with you so that you can kind of, oh, this is how I'm feeling.
Okay.
I think that helps. And then, do I truly feel satisfied? So when we get hungry out of nowhere, it's urgent, we want something very specific, and then you eat that something, are you really satisfied?
Usually not.
Usually
You just
not.
wanna keep feeling that need.
And why do you think that is?
Because food doesn't really help you with your emotions. It just makes it worse. You get
Food-
mad at yourself because, oh gosh, why did I eat that? You know?
Yeah, food doesn't feed emotions. That's what our brains trick us to think, and it asks for that food, but it really is, it doesn't feed emotions. And yes, and then if you were feeling like stressed and then you eat, then you feel worse, you feel angry at yourself because you feel like you made a bad choice. So food is never gonna feed your emotions. All these strategies that you guys have shared, that I have shared with you, those are the ones that are gonna help you calm down those emotions. Good. Okay. We've already talked about this. These are the ways to relieve stress without overeating. Okay, and we're almost done. We have 10 minutes left. This is a 5-minute guided meditation. Please raise your hand if you've tried guided meditation. That doesn't surprise me. Only 2 people. Okay. Oh, 3. 4. 3.5. Okay. So like I said, if this is your first time, you might feel a little bit awkward about it. It might be really challenging, but the whole goal is to focus your mind on what this man is telling you to focus on, so that you can let go of all the other thoughts of, oh, I gotta do this when I leave here. I gotta go to this medical appointment. I gotta go, I need to go to grocery shopping, okay? So that's the key. And even 5 minutes of relieving your mind from all those thoughts can have a great effect on your mental health. So that's the whole point of it. These guided meditations can be 5 minutes, can be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Some people meditate for a whole hour. Now that's pretty extreme. But hey, if you have the time on the weekend, why not? Okay, so I'm going to turn down the lights because it helps. If you have a phone that's ringing, I would ask to please put it in silence, because that would totally ruin the meditation. Okay, and it's only 5 minutes, and we'll be done right after that. Okay? Get comfortable, put the papers down in the floor, get rid of the pen in your hand.
Welcome to your meditation. Welcome to your meditation. I'm Dr. Robert Eric Dinnenberg, and I'll guide you through from start to finish. Mindfulness is present moment attention without judgment. For this meditation, we'll attend to our feet with mindfulness, and then we'll move on to the breath in the abdomen, and then to finish, we'll return to the feet. So let's get started. With mindfulness, start to observe your feet. Answer this question to yourself. What does it feel like to have my feet on the ground in this present moment? Explore this present moment experience of your feet. You might notice what it feels like to have your feet in your shoes, in your socks. You might observe different points of pressure presenting at different parts of your feet. And you might notice temperature. Simply observe whatever you notice. There's no right or wrong, no good or bad. Whatever you notice is okay. And anything that takes you away from this noticing is a distraction. Any thought about the future or the past, any worry or expectation, any internal dialogue or judgment, notice and let go. With forgiveness, with patience, notice and let go. Notice and let go. And shepherd your attention back to your feet. And when you're ready, let go of your feet and shift your attention to your abdomen. Here we find the home base for mindfulness of breathing. Observe what it feels like to breathe in this present moment. Explore and discover your own way of noticing your own breath. You might observe a rising of your abdomen as you breathe in, and a falling as you breathe out. Your own way of noticing your own breath might include registering an expanding feeling And when you're ready to transition out of the meditation, return to your feet. This time there can be some movement in your toes, and notice what it feels like to be moving your toes in this present moment. And let this movement transition you out of the meditation. So as your fingers are moving, and if you wish your body's stretching, you can transition fully out of the meditation. Thank you.
All right. So,
Right? And let me tell you, if you felt like it did nothing.
Yeah. Hey, Danielle. I didn't see.
that totally ruined the relaxation, Jason. If you felt like, oh, I'm ready to go to bed. If you felt like that didn't do anything, it might be one, because this is your first time doing it. It's impossible for you to get good at meditation if you don't practice it. Two, there is a lot of people here in this room, so you're aware of that, and that makes it harder for you to concentrate on what he's saying. There's background noise, so if this is 5 minutes, everyone's got 5 minutes. If you are able to turn this on and ask your family members, all right, don't enter the room, and pull up a chair where you can sit up straight and be comfortable, I think this is so helpful. And the more you practice it, the better it feels.
Giselle, sometimes I do that in the morning, even when you're just getting out of bed, sit on the end of your bed and you just give yourself that time
Yeah.
to think and meditate and quiet before anything else happens, before you get too busy with everything. But I find that helps me in the mornings.
Yeah.
That's me personally.
Exactly. And there's this app in the phone that you can download. It's called Insight Timer. Insight Timer. They have a lot of guided meditation. When I was practicing meditation more often before, I did a lot of the meditation for before going to sleep. So there are 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute guided meditations where it asks to put awareness on your breathing, and it tells you step by step, relax the cheeks, the muscles in your face, relax your shoulders, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was tensing up so much. I didn't realize it until this person just said it. And it helps to fall into a deep sleep faster. But in the morning, it's great to do it as well. In the middle of the day, I mean, I encourage you to try it. I think it's very great. All right. Does anyone have any questions or anything else that you wanted to share? Okay, then we are all done. If you needed me to sign one of those pre-op sheets to prove that you were here, then just let me know. Let me turn on the lights. Oh, let me give you that handout.
Yeah, do you protein or juice or just anything or? Something that's good. Peanut butter is good.
You're welcome. I know, yeah, I find it good.
You're welcome. All right.
Here, can I try to do
Oh, yeah.
exercise, sitting on the line stage on a
It was very good.
What part of it?
Next time, all of it was very good.
Good.
Next time I see y'all, I'll tell myself, next time I see y'all, I'll start.
There you go. See you next month, Giselle.
Yeah, see you next month. Thanks for coming.
Yes.
All right, thank you. You're welcome.
She has the, like, she'll give you like a sample and something that she has, and then she has like the powders, the protein powder in different flavor, variety of that you can try. That's how I did it, to figure out, which one I like.
Yeah.
students too, and stuff, for, it is,
So would it be faster?
Yes, ma'am, you're just there.
It's like you should be able to.
You're blessed to be there.
Yep, alright, bye. Good luck.
So, there is a, okay. About a year ago,
And you got that tumor in your face this time.
you're going through the motions. I was trying to remember those
it's called My Bariatric Pantry. It'll say, it's in a brick building.
Okay.
And it'll say that.
Really bad. That's not why I'm having surgery. I'm having surgery.
Oh my Lord. And it went down. But,
for me, the longest really hard to say. How you know? For every day. But I like parents and I like celery. I know, you're young, you're very young, and it kicks up those juices, those starters that.
Yes, but you need to be, you could need to be on
No, could, that might be, but again, I was a crash factor, cause every,
My husband's
when
fine
you're,
with it.
number one, we're all.
You know, he's one of those, he hikes the Appalachian Trail and it's like this.
Al dente.
Al dente, yeah.
But I
like-
just
like,
was diagnosed with all of a sudden high blood pressure.
so that
and
they
reduced
still have a
himself to me
Yeah.
a couple months ago.
But
I hope to get off of that as well. But mine was also, I was just terribly rash.
I will add
I
four
look like
apples to my lunch or
So
something.
that's really, really helping, but
Yeah,
I understand that everybody have diabetes.
I can just have something, please, the whole.
Hopefully, yes.
So,
Yeah, your body will go.
yeah.
Did you grow up today? I haven't.
I've always struggled with big person, and, you know, I just, I knew that probably one day I would come to, because even as a kid, my mom, both my parents, in their family, they have diabetes, they skip their just going through the motions,
That's why I don't know if I knew, and you have what, family and all that, that they all know what you're doing, like the husband, the kids?
Yeah, I have stepchildren, and I'm married, I have a husband, and he's behind me 100%. My mom, she's not so.
No, that's a good
word.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
So, I mean, you
believe
could
in,
say,
you know, that sort of
but.
thing.
Everybody says or thinks something.
Right.
But there's something
I think
that
that
you
you would really benefit from the research.
because years and going through and
It's a lot to check your goals.
It takes time.
And they are really good at helping
Really,
you
really
that
does.
cope with that. I just
You
give
know,
you
like
the
this.
because I'm a dietitian, I'm not a psychologist.
Oh, you do?
Say,
You know, be out for a year.
and do you have a different, all this weight?
Even though I am very active, but yeah, I just want a better brain.
Yeah.
Well, my husband is fine.
Yeah.
He
And
loves
you gotta
it.
keep up with them if you
Yeah,
take
I
them down.
know, and after the trail, and he's a skier, and his
Yeah.
kids ski, I have stepchildren, and my name's Penny.
I'm
but-
Terry, by the way.
Terry, Terri or Y?
See you next
Terry.
month. She actually is in the last.
That's nice.
Yeah, so you're so much ahead of you.
Yeah.
Right, Giselle?
Yes.
So much life ahead.
We all do.
Yeah. Have you worked with Giselle before? No.
Yeah,
No.
it's because of the dietitians.
I know, Jennifer.
Yeah.
I'm another resource, so you
Yes.
have, are you with Dr. Wayne? So you have Jennifer,
once you hit
And you
the
think it's 'cause
1
they
year
just don't know
post-op
what to
appointment,
say
you
or
won't
do.
come back to see Dr. Bueno till another year, it's just once a year after that. A lot of things can happen in 1 year, so most patients need support during that time too, that's where you can reach out to me.
Okay.
That's the best time to reach out to me because you'll be able to see Jennifer before, you know, all through that first year,
Uh-huh.
but then after the 1 year,
Yeah.
even when you come back for the second year post-op appointment, might not necessarily see her, so.
Yeah.
And my business card is there, if you
Okay.
need to take it.
I'll take it.
Take it from me. She's the one. Yeah.
And you're still.
You're
working.
awesome.
Still have
So
a lot
you're
to learn,
trying
this is
to-
my
You're on,
first job
Plus
as
that's
a
all of that.
dietitian.
you're doing great.
And there's so much to learn about bariatrics, I learn a lot from my patients through their experiences because it's not all like just black and white in the books say, there's a lot more to it.
So, yeah, and, you know, like I was just talking to her, some people, they think it's the quick fix, you know, and they have their own opinions, but they aren't educated on it at all. As I'm going through this, I'm like, it's a journey.
And Mama needs
understand.
so much more than that.
And the surgery, a lot of the surgeons describe it as the beginning of the journey. You know, it's not the end, it's not like the end line, oh, I'm done with it, no, that's, you're starting a new journey, and, yeah.
Everything changes.
Yeah.
And I did.
But it is great.
I mean, your diet has to be
Yeah.
regimented.